Hey, do you guys know if we can get coronavirus through butterfly kisses? Yeah? Wait, no? Hey everybody, this is Steve Giammona from the Steve Giammona Show. In this episode, I speak with ER nurse Amanda. Amanda is a local nurse here in Sacramento and she's fighting the coronavirus like everybody else. Coronavirus sucks. We gotta flatten the curve. Stay home, stay safe. In this episode, we talk facts, not fear. Where it came from, where we think it came from, where it's going, what do we have to do. We also talk about the effects it's having on her as a nurse and as a mom. It's a good talk. Stay home, stay safe.
Welcome to Steve Giammona Show. Welcome to Steve Giammona Show.
Hey everybody, I got a special, not a bonus episode of the Steve Giammona Show, but definitely a very special and topical episode. We're very fortunate to have Amanda, who is, I guess we can just say, hailing from parts unknown today. She's a nurse at a hospital, and she reached out, and we wanted to kind of get some stories out there, get some info out there. I guess the slogan is facts, not fear, that I've been hearing a lot lately. Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Amanda?
Sure. Thanks for having me. This is exciting. I have been a nurse since 2011, and I work in the emergency department, and I've been in the ER for the last 6 years, and just kind of feel like nursing is something that found me in a sense.
Mhm.
So I'm very passionate about what I do and kind of just the role that I play, especially in the emergency department, being with people in their most time of need. And yeah, I'm just kind of hanging on here with everybody else going through this pandemic. So it's kind of important, I feel like, to get information to people that is, factual rather than just being driven by hysteria, because I think there's so much out there that is causing us to go into panic mode. So
Yeah,
here
for
I
sure.
am.
That's what I was just talking to Nate that owns the studio. It's like, and just really everyone else in general. I don't want to say there isn't answers, but at the same time, there's just so much information that's coming out and stuff's changing rapidly. We really have no idea. Um,
Yeah.
Also, you're joining us via Skype, or FaceTime. So if it sounds a little bit different than normal, that's what's going on. What's a normal shift been like for you guys?
So um, I would say that for us right now, we're kind of, so just in the last couple of days, you've definitely felt an uptick in our census. But for us in this part of the country, in this city, um, I think, and across the board, just nurses that I know around town, we've been feeling what we call like the calm before the storm. So typically, I would see about 300 patients a day on average in my small 36 bed unit. And we've been right around 100. So our census has been very low,
Mhm.
which also speaks to the fact that a lot of people come to the emergency room for non-emergencies, because we're seeing those 100 people, but pretty much the majority of them are sick people, like pretty legit emergencies. So it's kind of, in a way, like everybody's enjoying this right now, because it's like this is what you sign up for when you're an ER nurse. You want to help the sick people, right? So not just like the stub toe that's been there for 2 months. But at the same time, there's so much tension. So we're constantly changing things around the hospital, um, putting up tents, tearing them down, moving chairs, moving beds, like kind of trying to organize our unit in a way that is going to accommodate a high influx of very, very critical patients. And so there's just a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of just anticipation of what's to come. Um, so that is never good for, I think, anybody, but
Mm-mm.
especially when you work in the emergency department, we're used to controlled chaos. And so when we're trying to control things that we've never been part of, there's kind of a extra element there that has kind of been floating around. But um, in the last few days, we've definitely seen a few more patients than last week. It's kind of starting to ramp up. So they're saying the next 2 weeks or so are going to start to really um, be what we've been hearing about. So
Yeah, that's kind of, I picked the wrong, I've been trying to like obviously stay informed, but not just watch TV.
yeah,
Um, so that was kind of the last thing I heard too is, the next week to 2 weeks are going to be really, uh, pretty much a complete shit show. And just,
yeah.
we're going to see how bad it's really going to get. When did you guys first kind of become aware of this? Because my wife works for a hospital as well. In the Not in the actual hospital, but she'd kind of heard about it, maybe not before anybody else, but they kind of started hearing whispers of something like this kind of coming in. So, I mean, obviously the last 2 to 3 weeks, everyone's known about it, but was there pretty much, you guys had about the same time frame?
Yeah, I think that I mean, personally, I heard about it in probably like November ish
Mhm.
because my sister was traveling to Hong Kong for a wedding.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, there's something going on over there. You shouldn't probably go there. You need to be careful, kind of. I had no idea that it was what it was. I didn't look into it that much. I just had heard about something going on in China. So I did hear about it kind of for a long time ago, but in the hospital there wasn't really talk about um, all this extra protection that we need to take and all these extra precautions and people really, coming down with it so rapidly until yeah, probably like maybe it's been a month now.
Mhm.
Um, but in the last 2 weeks, I can say significantly, we have changed our whole process. I mean, it's flipped our whole unit upside down, and even our hospital. We're trying to make. I mean, we're. I think I heard somebody say that we've requested over 200 ventilators to be delivered to our hospital, just in anticipation and preparation for what could happen.
Mhm.
Um, and we kind of base our stuff off of the Bay Area, right? So the Bay Area has gotten hit really hard. Um, and I think it's in San Jose, there's a hospital that has over half of their patients in house are COVID positive.
Jeez.
So that kind of sends out a ripple effect. So we definitely have been trying to respond and prepare to that. But yeah, it's been about a month, I think.
Do you feel that the social distancing and the shelter in place is kind of, I mean, obviously it's like we said, the next 2 weeks are gonna get pretty gnarly, but do you think that's helping at all?
I honestly, I would really like to think that it is.
Mhm.
I like to be a positive person.
Yeah, I
So
automatically go to like The Walking Dead. That's been like, I'm not kidding. I've just been like, I don't know if it's because I have kids or what, but it's like, oh my God, like this is what it's, that's where my head goes,
yeah,
you
well,
know?
I think that's also very media driven too because there is a huge element of fear around this. Like
Mhm.
there's no doubt about it that this particular virus has a deadly element, which all viruses do, depending on who you are and what your history is, right? So um, I think in the beginning we were kind of just the information we were getting was pretty benign, and I've been kind of um, apprised to like what they call a drip campaign. I'd never heard of that before until we've started dealing with COVID, but apparently it's the way that information is disseminated where they only give you like a little bit at a time because they don't want to cause like mass hysteria
Mhm.
and looting and pillaging and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
to me in the beginning of this as nurses, we weren't really like too worried about it. We were like, oh, well, the flu is also a deadly virus and it's not selective at all. I mean, it affects children of all ages all the way through the lifespan.
Mhm.
So, you know, hearing that COVID really only kind of affects it has a deadly effect mostly on people over a certain age and with comorbidities and this and that. It didn't seem quite so serious at first.
Mhm.
And then the more information that we've gotten and the more cases that we've seen and kind of how the information has started to really unravel, it's caused more fear, I think, because you just feel like you keep hearing new things where you're like, oh, well, I wasn't afraid before, but that's a little bit scary. And then
Mhm.
you try to kind of talk yourself out of it. But even as a nurse, I mean, I have two kids. I have a baby and a toddler, and you know, I think that's where my frustration has come through because I'm definitely afraid of kind of what could be. But one of my really good nurse friends has talked me off the ledge a few times about it because if you go to the science and you actually look at what the virus is and what it does and the amount of people that it's affecting and all the things, the other part is also our numbers are completely irrelevant
Mm.
at this point. We have not tested nearly as many people as we should have. So, you know, the numbers that we get are kind of inflated. So that's the other thing is we don't really know
Do
kind
you
of what we're working with.
do you think that there is that kind of sense of inflation on purpose? So my I kind of like I said, I kind of go to not the extreme, but like the fear side, where it's like, hey, they're saying schools could be shut till summer. Do you think that's being said as same with the numbers? Just, hey, we're going to get out like a pretty wild number just to kind of maybe kind of control a little bit more? Or am I
I
just
don't
being
know.
insane?
I so I've kind of been on both sides of that
Mhm.
fence, right? Like I feel like there's part of it where they're trying to really get people to follow along and say, if you don't do this, this could drag out, which I think is true. Um, but then also too, I feel like maybe we haven't wanted those numbers. Like I know in the USA we want to be number one at everything, but like I don't think we want to be number one at having all the most, don't want to say it, but like the most deaths from coronavirus in
Mhm.
the world. Like I don't think that's something that
No.
our administration really wants. But I think in kind of the way that this has rolled out, maybe some of it's been a little bit downplayed, and I think that's created a second wave of that mistrust or like hysteria. So it's kind of hard to really know like where are we at with this, right? Are we behind the ball? Are we ahead of the curve? What are we? Where are we? And I think again, kind of with our hospital setting, like we feel like okay, we're sort of ahead because we haven't gotten hit so hard yet. So we're ready and waiting. We're getting everything in place that we can. We're collecting, materials from anywhere we can find them and squirreling them away until we need them. And we're just trying to get set so that once this starts really rolling out, we're going to be able to handle it. But in other cities and like New York, obviously, especially where that's one of the epicenters, it's too late. It's too little, too late.
Mhm.
That would have helped months ago. So yeah, I think as just going back to social distancing really quick too, I think a lot more people are are trying to do that, which I think will help. But I don't know if it might be a little too late for that.
Yeah, I had to get out of the house the other day just because, like, this is not to be like, this has been the worst week of my life, but it's been a rough, gnarly week with two kids at home, like trying to work.
Yeah.
It sucks. And you don't want to just park them in front of the TV the whole time. But I was just like, my anxiety was all through the roof. So I was like, I got to get out of this house. So I went to go get something to eat, and it was just a little like burger joint, a local one. And I was sitting waiting for my order, and there was a guy, like they weren't closed. You could sit down and eat at this place, which I thought was kind of, I mean, it's a big place, but whatever. Maybe they were limiting it. But I was sitting there waiting, and this older guy walked by and he went to the Coke machine and he kind of gave me a dirty look.
Hey
Like,
everybody, if you liked what you just heard and you'd like to hear more than just a 14-minute long clip, like and subscribe to Steve Giammona Show. It can be found on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcast, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate it. Does that work?